And whoa.
Dude got unclipped. But then he just puts his head down. If you look in the rear camera, like he almost just sends it into the side of that warehouse. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Frenemy Friday. With me, of course, Brian Larson. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Jeff.
We are going to the North Bay today, up in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah, this is up in Santa Rosa. This is actually so this is the TNTs, which is a Tuesday night training crit at the Santa Rosa Fairgrounds, which is pretty cool and unusual. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to race inside the fairgrounds before, but it's far more technical than you'd think looking at a map. There's a lot of these little speed bumps and drainage ditches. There's going to be some cars on the course, like parked cars on the course.
It's the Alviso of the North Bay.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's windy, it's fast, it's got a long finishing stretch. It's going to make timing a sprint really challenging, just like Alviso. But yeah, it's really exciting racing every Tuesday night up here in Santa Rosa.
We're on board here with Nick from Red Peloton, so thank you, Nick, for sharing your footage. Reminder, if you guys have footage to share, link down in the description. Red Peloton, these prominent red jerseys. Nick had the majority of the teammates in this race. They are the biggest team, which means they're in control, for good or for bad, and they want to improve upon their effort from the last week's TNT, where they kind of just led things out for the entire race, and then they got beat at the end. So this week, they're going to be much more aggressive, and they're going to try to stack a breakaway, get off the front, attack, that sort of thing. Let's see if they can do it, huh, Brian?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, Brian, so here we are. We're coming into the start-finish. They're ringing the bell for a preem. Now tell me, because you've ridden this course before, right?
Yeah, I sure have.
I haven't. Tell me, what's the secret out here?
Well, it's first off, avoid those RVs on the left, that's for sure.
Okay. Mental note, yeah.
But the big thing here is the wind. So this is kind of south side of Santa Rosa, which gets a lot of that wind off the valley. And you can see on the right, there's kind of these big open areas and fields where all the horses and, fairground activities happen. And this means it's not protected. So you kind of got to stay protected on the left side of the road from the wind that usually comes from the head right down the home stretch. And the home stretch is actually kind of like falls flat uphill too. So even more important to stay tucked in and conserve as much as possible. And then when you turn around these corners here, it actually gets pretty narrow. And so I would do what Nick's doing, which is quite wise here, and staying really close to the front. As you start to pick up that tailwind, it starts to dip downhill, and the speed starts to rapidly pick up through these little chicanes. And there's actually like even a little dip here on this left turn there that's a lot bigger than it looks on the camera here. So, we're coming into half a lap here before a sprint for a preem. And you can tell people are kind of looking over their shoulders, and there's a lot of movement happening from behind, and even some flyers coming from behind. And Nick's kind of gotten himself a little bit boxed in here, which is never a good place a half a lap out from a preem. And whoa,
dude got unclipped. But then he just puts his head down. If you look in the rear camera, like he almost just sends it into the side of that warehouse. Don't really know what was going on there. Crisis averted. Practice crits can get gnarly. Dude, I'm no joke. Like, I've seen stuff at Alviso too. That was pretty intense. But Nick is finding himself in a really good position here with respect to their win. But all of a sudden, this dude just comes ripping around him. So it doesn't look like he's going to win this preem.
No, and I don't know that Nick was intending to win this preem, to be honest, because one of the things he had noted to us when he sent it in his notes was that it was his purpose to go into the breakaway and attack this group. And what you can see here is that his teammate, Austin, here on the left in the red, swiftly counterattacks the preem.
Smart move.
This is a perfect move, a cheeky move for sure.
They immediately open a gap. Look at that.
Yeah, and I'd say it usually doesn't work when you have two teammates because it's just like an immediate red flag. But when it's after a preem, everyone's toast. They just, went as hard as they could and rev their heart rate up. And there's only one little junior there coming up behind that can follow this move. And Austin here, who's an absolute diesel. I ride with him regularly, and Nick are just motoring on with only one rider in tow, setting themselves up for a 2-on-1. I mean, that's kind of the sweetest spot to get yourself into.
Pretty good, and especially considering this was their planned pre-race. Like, hey, let's animate this race, and let's not just lead it out. So, note for you breakaway riders out there: if you're trying to execute, take a note from Nick here and his teammate. Like, counter-attacking a preem lap is always a great time to establish a quick gap and to get into a solid rotation just like this. Let's see if they can continue this rotation and carry it through to the finish.
All right, so we're coming in here to 1 lap to go, and these 3 are still off the front, Jeff. They got the 2 Red Peloton guys doing a lot of work, and there's not a huge gap to the pack behind. Jeff, if you're in this situation and you have 2 teammates in the 3-person break, how do you win out of this situation?
So glad you asked that, Brian. This is the dream situation. You always want this. The way I see it, there's kind of 2 situations. There's 2 ways to play this to win it. And the way you decide is by answering this one simple question. Do you feel confident you have the strongest sprinter in this group? If the answer to that question is yes, then you dispatch your other teammate to get to the front just like they're doing right now and just tell them, hey, make sure that things are together until 200 meters to go. But then suddenly Nick here starts attacking. So that tells me that they're going with option 2, which is they do not feel confident that they can beat the Swift kid in the sprint. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this. But what he ends up doing is he effectively drops his teammate and doesn't drop Swift, who immediately just counterattacks through the chicane, which is a super smart move right here because, look, he just gets this gap. So now Nick has lost his teammate. Gap is opening up behind him, and he's kind of slow to close this gap down to Swift. So suddenly they're going from 2-1 in control to, oh my God, we might lose this. Brian, if now I'm going to kick the question back to you. Now you're in Nick's position. How do you beat Swift?
Oh man, this is my happy place here. 600 meters to go at the end of a breakaway, you counterattack again. With 500 meters to go, I think no matter how tired you are, no matter how tired the Swift kid is, you have to give it another go. You don't know what your gap is. You can't start playing around. Austin's obviously tired there from behind. And, he does a good job of staying, patient here.
Too patient. There's 200 meters to go. It's time.
200 meters to go, and they're doing 300 watts. The Swift kid, I'm going to give him props here for putting him in the gutter with the wind coming from the right. But we're coming to 100 meters to go, and you think there's still a lap left in this race, and that's a problem because guess what? A sprinter coming from the pack overtakes them with just a few meters left.
I could not believe this when I saw this. Oh my God, sniped at the line. And that's what you get. I mean, playing cat and mouse for too long. It looked like he waited until 70 meters to go before he decided to rip his sprint. He just waited way too long. I think he was tired. Lesson learned there. Awesome job by the guy coming up from behind sniping. You don't see that too often. Super exciting one. Brian, great having you on, man.
Yeah, thanks again, Jeff.
Talk to you guys in the next one.